Hello everyone, welcome back to FTLO Hobbies. Thank you for all the people that watched my previous video. I really appreciate it. And I want to continue with what I was doing before, which is basically starting with basics, not going too far into like, oh, let's be a professional and everything. So I'll show you what the cheapest options I started with are and what are some more sort of advanced alternatives. So yeah, so today I'll show you how to get a painting. This one was the last one I made, and how you can do it in the way I prefer to do it. So I don't like to do freehanding stuff, mostly because, well, although I can be sometimes creative, and I consider myself capable of doing these kind of things, I know that there's so many artists out there that I love their art, classical artists, just also some video game art, comic books, and even some cartoons that I really love to draw. So what I usually do is I copy those drawings. And as you can see, when you're doing it by hand, it might not end up perfectly. And today I'm going to show you a couple of ways where you can basically try to copy it as best as you can. Not going into too much detail, not showing anything fancy, just starting with everyday tools and showing you some more sort of advanced techniques. So these are basically all the materials we're going to use today. These are for different methods, so don't worry. You have graphite pen, just very basic graphite pen, just from the IKEA actually. This is one I took when I went to IKEA. Then moving on to a more advanced one, you have these pens that have a really thick tip. I don't know if you can see it over there, but yeah. So it has a really thick tip and it's easier to do what we're gonna do. And finally, you have a very thick graphite pen, which it is the one that I prefer. Not the brand, but the type of graphite pen. You can get these at any supply store for arts and crafts. These are really easy to find. They're not that expensive. If you want to start simple, we're gonna start today with this one. Then you have a more advanced option, an easier option, is carbon transfer paper. So this is basically something that's pre-made that will skip a step. It's basically the same thing we're gonna be doing with these three pencils, but this one you can buy them from Amazon. Whole package of sheets like this. It's gonna last you basically forever. You buy once and you're gonna use them forever. So it's about $10 for the pack. And again, just moving up from really simple and cheap with stuff you have at home up to more advanced things. So this is the last one. This I don't like that much, but it's really cool that allows you to simplify the process a lot. So this is what the two artists use for transferring their drawings into the skin of people. What they do is they print it out with a heat transfer machine. Those can be expensive. You have some fancy ones, but you don't need to worry about that right now. I'm just gonna show you the basic method. This, same as this one, you can buy really cheap. I think it's a couple of dollars in Amazon for a large piece of paper, stack of papers. But again, it's better if you have the machine. I don't, because I don't have the money, and I'm fine with what I'm doing right now. So let's get into how each of these methods work, and hopefully one of them can be useful for you and you can, improve, move from one to the other, such as I did. It's basically the same process where you have an image and you decide, hey, I'm gonna copy and transfer it onto a different piece of paper. So let's start over here. I have this extra piece of paper to lay flat on, and I'm gonna start with a smiley face, something really simple. Again, the idea is not to do something too complex, it's just to show you the process. So when we start with this idea and we want to put these into another surface, let's say this other white piece of paper, what we're gonna do is we flip it over. if you have this simple pencil, just try to cover the whole area as best as you can. Actually, because I drew it with a graphite pen, most likely it will transfer over to the other side as well. But this is a simple, really easy way to copy things that you have on one piece of paper. So you can see the other one, because I did it with graphite, transferred to the bottom piece of paper. Didn't even need to draw it again. And that's how you transfer images. So if I make a crossing line here, it will also transfer to the other side, because the graphite from this end is gonna be sticking to this end. With these other pencils, it's the same concept. It's very easy. You just scribble over, make some lines. With this one, you can see the lines are a bit thicker and the coverage is a bit better. And with this one, it's so much faster and the color is much darker than the previous ones. So you get about better coverage over there. And what you end up doing is we have this same drawing in the same line, because we have the normal graphite here, we have this pen over here, and then you have this pen on this area. What you can do is just to know how it transfers, just scribble there. The idea is to use a point that's not too pointy. You don't want to go over the piece of paper, because you're gonna damage whatever is behind it. So just scribble some things, then you can test it out and see what transferred. And as you can see here, thick lines, thin lines, you can see all the details that were transferred with this homemade method. Now you move on to more advanced method, which is not needing to scribble this out. So you can actually use any kind of pen you have at hand, even your finger. Your fingernails work as well. So for example, if I go here, this has two sides, one shiny side and one dark side. Where you're gonna transfer your image, you put the shiny side. And what you do is crossover. You don't need a pen, you don't need any of that. You can use even a ballpoint pen, a fountain pen, and look at that. A more beautiful line because it's more dense, more condensed. You can see a bit slightly over there where it was transferred. So the same concept, if you have something that you want to transfer onto something else. For example, I want to draw something and I want to get a copy. This is what people did before when they wanted to copy documents that they were currently writing. They would put one piece of paper, the transfer paper on the bottom. Maybe at some times they did multiple layers, so it's like paper, transfer paper, transfer paper, transfer paper, stuff like that. And what you actually do is right here, and you have the original paper, and then when you remove it, you have to transfer, and then ta-da, you have a carbon copy. So that's the basic of it. That's how you transfer from one piece of paper to the other. Here, it's the same concept. You have different layers, and the benefit of this one is you can use a heat transfer machine that will help you with it. You don't actually need the heat transfer machine. You just need to draw on top of it, and it will transfer anyways. But this one is kind of different. So here you have 3 layers. You have more actually in a original one just to cover the pieces. So you have the paper where it's printed, you have the ink layer, and you have the protective layer here on the back. So what we do with this one is we actually want to say, for example, smiley face here. There you go. And here you're gonna notice, hopefully you can see, yes, it went from the ink paper into the transfer paper. So the same where it's printed, it's where you have the ink on the other side. Let me cut this out for you guys so I can show you the next. Sorry about that. I'll show you the next step, which is taking this part out. Usually tattoo artists are better at this, and just showing you how it works. I'm not a tattoo artist at all, but this is the same method. So you have the one you scribbled. This one is the one that got transferred. You put this part over here, and to transfer it, you actually need to use a bit of water. Just dip my finger in there, and you put some water there. Start scrubbing. You can use a Q-tip, like for the ears. Actually, they are not for the ears, but you get it. And then when you remove it, oh, this one didn't transfer as well. Usually works better, but you need to press it a bit better, and you can see that it transfers there to the skin. So you can use isopropyl alcohol as well. Anything that evaporates fast is better. This one, you can see it leaves the wet mark. Now, this has some drawbacks, such as this. One of the benefits is that if you have the equipment, if you have the machinery, the heat transfer material, and you put this in, you'll get a print perfect picture that you're gonna be able to transfer right away. So it's gonna be basically printing sort of on the surface you want to. And those are the basics of transferring one piece of image or text into another one. So again, as I mentioned before, my preferred method is this one, mostly because it's cheap enough. You can get really similar results with just scribbling these parts on the back with any kind of pen, something you have laying around. You can go to an IKEA store or any craft store and get these free pencils, and it's gonna be good enough. Remember, you need to do things that are good enough for you. You don't need to be a professional to have fun and enjoy the process. So just trying to encourage you to do that and have fun with it. Now let's move on to the next stage. I wish I had a printer, but apparently I ran out of ink. So I'm gonna show you with another small printer I had. What I did was I printed this small image. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna make another altar. So for this one, from the same pack I opened before, I'm gonna do Frozen in Ice. Let me move these things around, get this out of the way so it doesn't bother us. We're not gonna use it right now. And here are a couple of recommendations. First, when you're printing stuff, when you're printing images that are from other artists, it's not your creation, one common practice, at least if you're doing it over here, it's just crossing over the original artist. So just when you're done with the painting, just cross it over. Also because it's not their art and you don't want to associate their name with your own art. Just some courtesy. And also when you're sharing this, just share who's the original artist for the piece you're copying as well. So if you're inspired by another YouTuber, by another Instagram artist, or Reddit, or Pinterest, or whatever, just give them credit. It's important for every creator just to be acknowledged, at least. Many people don't want to be paid, they just want to be acknowledged. And that's also something that we want in our everyday lives, just to be acknowledged and be accepted and praised and recognized. So yeah, let's move forward with the process. I'm gonna be giving you some tips in between. One of the tips is painter's tape. You can get them at any craft store or hobby store that does paintings. You get some small painter's tape that's for covering areas you don't want to paint. That serves a couple of purposes. One, fixing everything in place, because if you have some art in here and you start shifting it around, it's not gonna end up transferring in the same place. So you want to fix it as much as possible. What I do here is get my scissors. I've had these scissors for so many years. They're not the best quality. They're not even good quality. But they're good enough for what they need to do, so I keep them. Okay. I'm gonna cut it out to be just the size I need it to be. So this is what I'm gonna be transferring, and I'm gonna basically be putting it over here. Let's see. I'm gonna be trying to cover this without covering the symbols of mana on the top. You'll see how I do that later, but it's basically paint over it and don't try to go over those lines. And you do the same thing with this piece of paper. So you put this one on top. Let's use an area we haven't used before. Just roughly cut it out. Doesn't need to be perfect. It's a very rough cut. Right. There we go. So we have our art, we have our transfer paper, we have our card. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put it in a place that we like. For me, looks great there. For you, it could be somewhere else. For this step, it's basically fixing it in place. Just put a bit of tape just to know where it's gonna go, and being more sure that it's not gonna move freely, because that will make it worse for you in the end, in the sense that you're not gonna end up with the lines as you wanted them to be. And again, these you're gonna get rid of later, so don't worry too much about that. This is the basic setup, and just like most people did in kindergarten, I do still to this day, is draw following the lines. So what we're gonna do is, you have the general lines like this one, that's for Fry from Futurama, Matt Groening drawing. Really fun show. A lot of people enjoy it. I love it. It's really relaxing to watch and funny. So many shenanigans, and when you learn that the science is not out of the blue, they don't just create it by themselves, it's based on true facts, it becomes even more interesting. Also, if you're a science geek and you want to know more about stuff, it's a great way to say like, oh, I didn't know about that. In the small facts. Again, just go over the outlines. This part as well can be very relaxing, just because it's still fun, it's still a lot of fun. Just to get to draw something you like in a piece of material that you're gonna enjoy for a long time. So here again, the hair, following the lines, it doesn't need to be perfect. And because we're doing this, it's gonna be easier to know where we need to paint. I don't know if you remember last time that I made a drawing for the Pink Panther, and I had to redraw some parts because I didn't like how the proportions ended. It applies the same here. Actually, the same concept that I'm copying this art from the show, you can have your own art, print it, and transfer it. So that's also what a lot of people do, which is they create their own art. It's great to be creative, just having fun in different ways and enjoying creating these things that are gonna not only look good, but you're gonna be able to still use them. You're gonna be able to play with them and show them to other people, which is also one of the fun parts when people are saying like, oh, what is that card? Oh no, this is just frozen in ice. Do you remember the card from the Marvel set? Oh yeah, this is an art I made. Oh, that looks awesome. And even if it's some scribbles, even if it's something really simple, a couple of lines, if it's meaningful to you in any way, and by meaningful I mean you like it, brings you memories, it's funny, it's a meme, whatever, you can do it. Like one of the most popular alters a lot of people do is Counterspell with those different memes of nope. So yeah, you can do the same thing. Just have fun with it. Let's do it here. We have a wall. So for those of you who don't know, I also have my iPad here next to me looking at the original image. Also because I also know that there are some details that I cannot see perfectly in this print, because this is not a print. This is actually a sticker. I'll paste it next to the card afterwards just to show you that it's a sticker. But yeah, same concept applies. Just scribble down all the lines, or at least the ones that you think you're gonna copy. You don't need to make it perfect. It's still your art. It's still something you're having fun with, so you can add details, remove details, make it easier for you. Here in this case, I'm trying to remove some details because, again, I'm gonna use the simple brushes I bought from Amazon as well. Something cheap. I don't want to support them, but because I don't have the money, it's the best I can do. So here we go. That's it. I went all over the lines. That was the first step of the process. Let me remove this. Just be careful with the car, not peeling it out so fast. And hope you can see it better with the reflection. You can see that I transferred the image really easily. So I didn't need to draw by hand and do all those details by myself. It was really straightforward. Moving on from this point, one of the things that I encourage people to do is just to be sure that these lines are gonna stay in place. So there are many ways. One of the ways is going with a fine line, permanent fine liner, and just going all over the lines. That's one way of doing it. You have thicker ones, so 08 is thicker than 005, so on and so forth. So this is a really basic way to just make sure that the graphite from the transfer paper stays there. Let's go over it really quickly. Some rough lines again. This is going over it mostly because I'm sort of a perfectionist. I'm trying to get over it as well, but it's hard. Some things I don't like. It's like losing track of where my lines are. It makes it more difficult to see. Here you can see that because I'm using this pen instead of just leaving it with the graphite, you can see it a bit better on the camera. It's easier to see with the reflection. And there we go. Just make a couple of lines, guidelines that help me know where things are gonna go, so I don't lose track of them. And then, same as before, what we're gonna do is we're gonna paint a background just so we can paint on top of it with our final colors. And just as before, enjoy the process, have fun, just relax. You don't need to do it perfect. Circles don't need to be perfect. Lines don't need to be perfect. Your first attempt doesn't need to be perfect. You're just gonna be enjoying things. Here's the beer. Okay, there we go. We have some basic lines. At least we know where we are gonna be painting. And we're gonna be using the same technique as before, which is using the marker pens. Cheap marker pens. You can use your brushes, you can use your acrylic paints, you can use your oils, whatever you want, just do it. do it, enjoy it, have fun. Cover the card. Another tip from a lot of people is that they glue their card somewhere. It's because when you're painting, if you go to the edge of the card, sometimes it can go on the back, and you don't want that. In this case, I don't care because it's for myself. I'm just having fun. This is a fun activity I'm doing. I don't need it to be perfect. And again, remember I mentioned I didn't want to cover the cost. So here, what you do is, same as with painting by numbers, you don't print them. Just go around them as good as you can. That's it. That's all you need to do. Here. Same with the lines I made. I try not to go over them. Just because it can make it disappear. It can make us lose track of what we're painting. So I'm going to show you another detail, which is using the empty space. So I want to leave some parts unpainted. For example, here, I do want to paint it. I want to paint the hair, the background, where the capsule is, everything. But like in the original drawing, his capsule is in front of a window. So I'm gonna be using this part over here as a window into space. Well, into the backspace, which is basically Captain America being frozen over there. Here you have the beard that's frozen. This is one of the shows I should be watching again, just because it's really fun to watch. Really enjoy it. Again, it's taking shape, it's looking better with every pass. And again, this first paint, this first layer, doesn't need to be perfect, doesn't need to look great. It's just for you to lay some color, start blocking the images from the background. Doesn't need to be the final color, even. Same if you're using acrylics, just go thin layer by thin layer. Sometimes rushing the process is not the best, because you don't get the outcome and you don't get the enjoyment from it being how you want it to be. With some things, you need to go through them. Otherwise, you might end up regretting many things. Just like in life, enjoy the process, have fun with it, and let go of some of your mental constraints. For example, in my case, is that everything needs to be perfect. Oh no, I need to worry about every single detail. Or for example, like, oh, I went over the line there, I need to redraw it. No, you don't. Just need to have fun, relax, and when it's good enough, you'll notice, you'll see when you get there, and you'll say, oh, I wish I had done this for a bit longer. Would have been so much more fun. The result would have been more like what I wanted. And that's what happened to a lot of us with our childhood, with our life in general. We try to rush over some things and then stop enjoying some of those moments. And that's not great for our mental health, for ourselves. We need to be mindful, we need to take care of ourselves, and part of it is recognizing that some processes, some things that we do are for a reason, and we should enjoy them, even the small details. Okay, I'm back. I didn't even notice when it stopped recording. Well, that's unfortunate. As I was saying, I went over some colors. I'm gonna do 2 colors. 2 layers of colors just to get it done and make it smoother. As you can see, there are some gaps here that you can see are like empty. With another layer on top, you can correct most of those. One of the things I wanted to do is I wanted his skin to look a bit paler, and because I'm not using brushes and I'm using these markers, I think I mentioned it on the last video, is that you can paint a base color, and what is on top, because these colors are not perfect, it's gonna be seen just a tiny bit from the bottom. So I'm gonna paint this, and then I'm gonna paint pink on top of it with a more transparent color, and hopefully that will make it look much better. We also have the shirt over here. Oh, this line I forgot to paint. Oh, well, that's okay. Don't need all the details. We talked before, just a general idea of what we're looking at is often good enough. We don't need to be perfect. We don't need to struggle with it. Just have fun with it. Have fun with the process. Make it look as good as we want to, as good as we can. And that's all we can do. Now I'm gonna go to the white colors, because white, usually it's tougher to paint. You'll need a couple of layers extra to get the white to be more white. As you can see a lot of the gray in the background, and it happens a lot with darker colors. So if you have a dark color in the background, it's gonna be tougher to paint the white with just one layer. So you're gonna need a couple of layers to go through it. Now, to make this look like it's glass and transparent, what I'm gonna do is I am not gonna paint it. I'm gonna just go over here, paint a line that goes from the bottom to the top. And make a couple of lines here to see if I like it. Kind of like it. It's not perfect, but these lines, because they go from the back. Yep. Kind of like it. Gonna go over it in the end. Just trying to check out the colors, how they look. One of the other colors that looks like the glass is in front is the tongue. So I'm gonna go right there. These lines I drew on top is just to give it like the glass effect. They don't need to stay there. You can go over them in the end. I was just testing how I like them, and I can paint over them. That's one of the beauties of these things. You just paint over them. Don't worry about that. You made a mistake, you can paint over it. If you don't want to paint over it and you want to remove it, it's a bit tougher, but not impossible. So I'm going to show you later on. It's just something that needs a bit of patience. In many things we do in our lives, just a bit of patience is all that we need, just to fix those mistakes, not panic, just breathe in, breathe out, think about it calmly, rationally. Sometimes when we're too excited about something that's happening, when it's either good or bad, you can get excited for many reasons. Some people tend to rush into decisions that they end up regretting. I also happen to do that at times. It's not something you want to do. It's not something you need to do. It's something that actually takes a huge toll on your mental health, mostly because, yes, you acted quickly, but what is the result? What's the cost of it? So, even though it's hard, even though it feels like, oh no, I need to do something in this instant, the outcome of doing something quickly can be worse than just waiting a bit longer. Just waiting for, hey, what's gonna happen if I do it this way? And think about it. It's like, oh yeah, that might not be the best choice. Let's take an extra minute just to do it the way we at least want it to be. And then we're gonna start with the orange again. Let's start over here. These colors, when you're applying the second, third layer, is when you start really noticing the effort of doing multiple layers. Just because it's more even how it dries out. You can do it better. I'm gonna do 2 layers today only because don't need it to be perfect. Just did it to have fun, enjoy the process. So 2 layers for me today for this card is good enough. You don't need to spend an eternity. You don't need to spend the whole afternoon. You don't need to beat yourself to be perfect and do everything just as you want it to be. The most important part of this is enjoying the process, having fun with it, and being happy of your result doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best result you could ever get. Again, just keep trying. You should be happy that you tried, or you should be happy that you did something. Let's see how this pink looks like. I think pink is not the right color for this. I think it's more of this. It does look good when it's kind of like that, or do we want it more pink? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you would have done. I'm gonna try to make it frozen. So instead of using pink, which is what I initially intended to use, I'm just gonna make him look frozen. He's frozen in time for 1,000 years. And he'll wake up in the year 3000. Okay, now the white here. Again, remember I mentioned patience. I'm just going over the tiny details. White is one of the colors that you need to do more layers, just because it's very easy to see through it. But each layer we are adding gives it more depth, gives it more intention. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for something that looks like we intended it to be in a certain way. And then we have the beard here. I'm gonna paint it dark with a lighter border. So the beard is gonna be really like frozen in the air. So here, doesn't need to be perfect. It's beer, it's bubbles. Bubbles are not supposed to be perfect. So like that. We can add some dark gray to the lead to make it look like a can of beer with the tin on the top. Here. Now we'll go over the frozen part again on the hand because that part didn't cover it greatly before. Now we go over the tongue. Wait a There we go. And now this looks better. This looks like we intended to look like that. And now that we're comfortable with this, we can go on to the final details. Again, it depends on how comfortable you are that you're gonna get to different results. Oh, this pen is drying out. Let me look for another one. Give me 1 second. You should have backups, and if you don't have backups, you need to figure out a way to do it differently. In my case, I do have backups, but they're a bit too thin. I don't know if going too thin is gonna be great for this look, mostly because I want the lines to be noticeable. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go with a backup. So remember, fine line. Gonna try it out here on the side just to see how thick they are. So it's good enough for me. What I'm gonna do is just highlight some borders that I want to highlight. Make them pop out better. And because you're using one of these markers, the lines look better, looks crispier. It's not perfect. It's not like the TV where you have the perfect lines where they can draw with professional tools. You're doing this at home, you're having fun, you're painting it in one of your cards because you like it. Again, now whenever I do one of these lines, it makes the art pop up so much more. Just because I'm separating the colors. I don't know if you can see, hope you can see the difference. These colors would look better with a bit of a finer line, but I didn't have a fine liner, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with accepting the difference, accepting that it's not gonna be perfect, it's not gonna be how I like it, but it's mine and it's beautiful in the eye of the beholder. So there we go. We're adding lines just to make it look a bit crispier. I'm taking some creative liberties just because we don't want to be copying exactly like it is. We're giving it our own twist. And here what I'm doing is I'm adding lines, new lines, to make the image more understandable, more than to copy it as exactly as it is. Because otherwise I could print it, and I don't want to print it. I want to make it my own. I want this art to be my art. And to do that, you add your own details. It's based on the other one? Yes, 100%. But it's yours, in your style, something you wanted to make. It's not perfect, but it's yours. You should be happy about that. You're making stuff for yourself. And the beard, the hands. Again, this is something really straightforward, nothing too complicated. I'm not trying to make it perfect because I'm not a professional. I'm just trying to have fun with it. Have fun with the process and enjoy it. Enjoy the results I get. If they're good, fantastic. If they're not good, I'm learning. I'm doing things. I'm not sticking around and doing nothing. Know what I mean? It's great that you're trying new things, getting out there, risking what you're doing just to make it look like you want it to look. Okay. And as I mentioned before, I'm gonna remove the name of the artist here. Let's paint it black because this is my art now, based on Matt Groening's Futurama, but still my art, and it's something I like, something I enjoy, something I'm gonna have fun when I'm playing with it. Also, as promised, here's the final detail I wanted to share. Just got one of these toothpicks. It's a toothpick, even though it's light blue. It's a normal toothpick, just got it from Safeway. They had a sale going on. Slightly over the edges you wanna remove. Here the same, remember I said like, oh no, I went over it. No, you go over it with the tip slightly, don't put too much pressure. You put too much pressure, you're gonna dent the card and you don't want that. This is like reverse painting, just removing details you don't want to be as prominent. Here in this case, I'm not gonna be that careful because it doesn't look bad to have like a slightly off blue coming off that edge. Here I'm gonna be removing some, make these lines thinner. They ended up being too thick. And this is also something that you can do just to say like, whoopsie, I went over it, and then you fix it. You go over it again and you fix it as good as you want it to. So thank you everyone again for joining. Hope you enjoyed this and hope you can do the same thing. See you next time. Next time I'm gonna be trying a different type of art and showing you how to work more with brushes and normal acrylics, not just these pens. Hope you have fun, enjoy. Remember to enjoy the process. Also, remember to comment and subscribe if you have any questions. If you want to see something done next time, just let me know. And see you next time. Thank you.